Well,
Okay.
tonight was a awesome night, and thank you so much for coming
Oh,
down to
sure.
Hood County.
It was awesome.
How do you think it went?
It was great. It was my first time to do a moderation like that. I've done 2 others, but that was the first one out here. So
You did a really amazing job, by the way. That was really good.
Good.
And I love how balanced the questions were. And,
Right.
you got a lot of feedback from. I learned a whole lot today, and
Oh,
I feel like
that's
I'm
good.
like in the weeds every day, and I learned so much tonight, and so
That's good.
excited to share all these videos from tonight to the people of Hood County. I wanted to see what we can do. So I know you focus on, your state level, and so what can we do to help the movement here in Hood County? How can we be better?
So what it takes is just like with a volunteer organization, like a volunteer fire department, and how you don't just set out the volunteers to go and work the fire. You have somebody, they all have to be exquisitely trained. And we need to do that with our precinct chairs. The great thing about the Republican Party that I love about it is that we're a bottom-up party. We're not top-down. And the Democrats are top-down. They tell their people what to say, what to think, and where to go, and what signs to wear. And they give them money for protesting. But for us, protesting against a tyrannical government or anything like that, it comes from our heart, and it comes from what we know is freedom. So that's why it is not something that's fake for us. It's not something that's based on emotion. It is something that is factually based because we believe in this country and want to protect it. So for the precinct chairs, they're the backbone of our party. And so what we need to do is have more influential and really hardworking precinct chairs that know their community and know their neighbors. And it's all about relationships. And it's just a precinct chair going and saying, hey, I just want to introduce myself. If you want to know what's going on at the county, I'm your person, and I'll tell you when voting times are. And that's what people want, the personal touch. Even though we have the social media and all of that, they want the personal touch of somebody inviting them to something, because 60% of your tax dollars is spent by local dollars, local authorities. And a lot of people, because we all have in common Trump, we all have in common in Texas, Governor Abbott, but we don't all have in common who your mayor is, my mayor is, and all of those things. So it starts to dilute, and the amount of attention to those areas seems to be null and void. And that's when bad things can happen, and people have no idea on the grand scale what's going on. Now, Hood County, y'all have been getting known, but it is great whenever people can really get involved in their community and understand why it directly touches them, because it's 60% of their tax dollars that is spent in their local community, and they should know what's going on.
That's great. One thing I've really been seeing, I guess, like a main issue I feel like we're having here, and maybe you can give some advice to that, but also let me know, like, is this like a statewide thing or just Hood County? But there seems to be a lot of confusion as to who's actually Republican, and are they like a left-leaning Republican? Are they conservative? Are they Democrats under the Republican name? I think we have a lot of our people are real confused on who's actually Republican and who's not. How do you even figure out who's conservative and who's not, and how do you combat that? And is that just a Hood County problem, or is that a statewide issue?
So it is a statewide issue. So you have your more moderate Republicans, and you have your very conservative. I'm very right wing, as my sons will say that I'm an extremist or something. But I am definitely pro-life. I'm adopted. My son's adopted. And then there's some that don't believe as strongly as I do on that issue. I think if you can't value a human life, what can you value? But that's one of the things that seems to be an issue. But when it comes to moderate Republicans, they also believe that you should spend a little more. And whereas conservatives, we want you to conserve, but just like in my closet, in my house, when I bring something new in, I got to take something old out. And that's what we need to do in government. It's just that simple. And because in business, as you know, when you have a business and you're looking at your own budget, you have to look at it all the time to see where your money and where your profits are. If your profits aren't there, you've got to cut somewhere. Mm-hmm. For some reason in politics, we don't do that. And so that's where conservatives need to have a bigger voice in saying, we need to be respectful of your tax dollars because we don't make anything. Mm-hmm. Government doesn't make anything. They only take. And so if they keep growing, they're going to keep taking. And so that's why it's very important to get somebody in office that has the experience of budgets, that has the experience that has made those decisions on budgets and things like that, and in staff. Because there's not a lot of people that they placate. And if you listen to the big words of, we're going to nestle down and we're going to make sure that you have all white picket fences, and that's grandiose and everything, but who's going to pay for that? You know, some of these politicians promise the moon and the stars, and then it's your money that they're going to have to need to deliver it. But you really have to dive down deep to ask them where they're coming from on their different areas that they're talking about. If they're talking about something that is more vague, keep dissecting it by saying, how are you going to do that? How are you going to do that? Because you basically will then find out if they're conservative or not. If a politician doesn't want to talk to you about those things, they're not approachable, chances are they're not a conservative. Conservatives can stand on what they believe in, and they can stand strong. So that's how you find out. Now, your question about Democrats, there is a pattern of Democrats that you can look at you go to GOP data center, you can look at their voting record, and you can see if they voted Democrat or whatever. Now, a lot of people have come from, Brandon Strika walked away. They've walked away from the Democrat Party because they have become utter lunatics. Yeah. So with that, they have moved over because, just for example, in the Texas State House, the Democrat Party argued for 2 hours for squatters to have rights to your property. They wanted squatters to still have rights. We fought for people not to have that taken away. So that's, the different areas that we're in. But when Democrats want to get elected and they're in a Republican district, the only way that they can is if they say that they're Republican. So that's what we have seen in the past, but it is all dependent on an informed public. And the only way you have that is with people that are wanting to serve in that role to inform the public.
Okay, thank you. And then got maybe like 2 minutes left on this iPad. It was kind of brought up tonight, and so it's a little bit of a hot topic, the topic of Lawfare. Do you think that Hood County is like leading the way in Lawfare, or do you see Lawfare on a statewide level, or,
I think Hood County actually does have the worst reputation that I've seen. I have seen there is the good old boy type of atmosphere in some of these towns and everything. But Hood County actually has been the one that's been most in the news and widely talked about. And it's really devastating to see that happen. But what is great in Hood County, nobody is scared of this. The ones that they have picked on, the ones that they have targeted are not somebody that is a Millie Mouse that's going to go away. They are fighters, and they know what's right, and they're going to do the right thing. And hopefully justice will prevail.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, and lastly, how can we get connected with the Grassroots?
Okay, well, let's go. So the Grassroots Club is something that I head up on my committee through the SREC. And what that is it's a way to be involved into the Republican Party of Texas. And so it's as little as $15 a month. What I do is I do a big newsletter every month, and it's really great. It talks about what the different counties are doing, what the state is doing, what's going on with our closed primaries. that fight that we are doing. So it also is going to start talking about convention, because there's a lot of steps to convention until we get there June the 8th through the 13th. And so those type of things are in the newsletter. Then every week on Tuesdays, I have a call on X that I do, and I do it with different elected officials. So that way they can talk about what's going on legislatively or in their county. I'm going to have Land Commissioner Don Buckingham is going to be on. And then I'm also hoping to have somebody from Trump's cabinet on. But it's a variety of different people. It's fun, and it also informs people.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and I think we're all honored to have you as our Republican Vice Chairwoman.
Well, I'm honored that you took this on, and you're going to be a real success.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.